What's up, everyone? It's Jermaine again. Let's talk about Uber versus taxi. So a lot of people out there see these ads on Craigslist that says drive for Uber, make $2,000 a week. Now, come on, ask yourself this question: if you could make $2,000 a week, wouldn't it be a lot of other people signing up for this gig? I mean, it would be, right? I mean, $2,000 a week is $100,000 a year. Okay, so do you in $100,000 a year, top 10% earners make that? So Uber is basically advertising that you can make 100 grand a year driving UberX, driving your own car. Guys, if you hear that, if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it's too good to be true. Okay, there's no UberX drivers anywhere that make 100 grand a year driving UberX. Okay, and if they do make 100 grand a year, it was because the money was deposited from Uber into their bank account, and it was $100,000. It wasn't profit. It was gas, there was fees, like it's tolls. Come on, like you don't make that much driving for Uber. Okay, driving for taxi. You know, I don't never really hear much about what taxi drivers make because maybe they don't advertise it the same, like Uber. But to throw it out there, cab drivers in San Francisco could make anywhere from $200 to $500 a night on average. So when you think about that, huh, doesn't that sound similar to what Uber and Lyft drivers could make? That's correct. Uber and Lyft drivers could make 200 to 300 to $500 a night. That's correct. But Uber and Lyft drivers, they use their own cars, okay? They don't have commercial insurance, okay? And they have to pay 20% to Uber, okay? Now, cab drivers, on the other hand, it costs a little bit more for them to get involved. Cab drivers have to go to cab college, which you go down to San Francisco. There's a place you go to. I don't exactly remember the building, but it's somewhere on Market Street. You go, it's called Cab College. You take all these tests. They're all maps of the city. You got to know where this hospital is, this police station, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You pass. You pay $200. It takes like 3 weeks or something. You get a cab card, or a C card, I think they call it, or A card, one of those. You get that, and then you can take it to a cab company. Whatever cab company sponsored you, like you kind of have to like call a cab company and sort of get them interested in some process like that. Then you go down, you become a cab driver. When you become a cab drivers pay to rent the taxi each day. Okay, some cab drivers own the taxi, so they may own their taxi and they may lease it out to other drivers. But typically, if you work for Yellow Cab, you're pretty much leasing the taxi, right? So you pay Yellow Cab, $100 every day, anywhere from $100 to $120 every day. It really depends on which day of the week. If there's games going on in the city, like the price can vary, but not by much. So cab drivers typically lease their taxis for 10 to 12 hours. So a 4 a.m. to 4 a.m. shift. So some cab drivers make $200 on that 12-hour shift. Now, what do cab drivers do? Not all of them drive the entire 12 hours. No, they don't. Because if you look around, you see cab drivers sitting around everywhere. Because on the 12-hour shift, not all those hours are busy. Rush hour is busy, lunchtime is busy. There's a little bit hit or miss in between. But, to drive a taxi, you're out there 12 hours and you pay $100. And then, it's $3.80 a mile or $3.50 a mile, I can't remember. So you make money like that. Now, the difference between taxi and Uber is Uber, you can only make money off of the people that you get from the app. Okay? Taxi, on the other hand, taxi can make money off of apps. Taxi can make money off of concierge from hotels. Taxi can make money off of picking random people up in the street. Taxi can make money off of the dispatch. Taxi can make money off of giving out his private business card. Taxi can make money in a lot of ways. One thing that sucks about a taxi versus Uber or Lyft, if you're driving Uber and you pick up someone in downtown San Francisco and they want to go all the way to San Jose, you can take them, okay? And when you drop them off, you can start working in San Jose. But if you're a taxi, you have to return the taxi, okay? Which is not that big of a deal because, gosh, at $3.50 a mile from San Francisco to San Jose, that's a pretty nice fare, plus 50 cents a minute, and it's gonna take more than an hour to get there. That's a really decent fare in a taxi. Doesn't sound bad if you ask me. It would have to be 3x on Uber for it to equal that, or 2x or something. So you be the judge on that one. Now, another thing about taxi versus Uber and Lyft. A lot of cab drivers don't own their taxi. So if they crash it, they don't care. That's why you see them driving like fools, because it's not their car, you know. This other girl who's driving her, brand new Honda Civic she just bought for Lyft, she might want to drive different because she's going to have to pay for those repairs, not the cab driver. Another thing about cab drivers is one of the big advantages over them is they have priority in the street over over normal cars, meaning that they can drive in a lot of bus lanes which normal cars can't drive in. They could also make left turns where normal cars can't. They can stop in certain places where normal cars are not allowed to. So taxis definitely have that advantage. And another big thing about a taxi that a lot of drivers forget, okay? Uber says that, yeah, we're going to put the taxis out of business, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But you know what? It hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened. But what has happened is taxis have gotten stronger. Because last January, I remember driving around near the dog patch area in San Francisco where a lot of the taxis are stored, okay? That's how I knew where they were, because I would drive by and see tons of taxis sitting in parking lots, okay? Tons of taxis. At that time, Uber rates were much higher. So for the passengers, it cost more to take an Uber. So you had drivers jumping ship. You had drivers going from taxi to Uber, because back then it looked like a good deal because cab drivers were paying $500 to $600 a week to lease a taxi, okay? Which is like more than $2,000 a month that they were paying just to lease the taxi. So what a lot of guys did were they stopped driving Uber, they stopped driving taxi, and they jumped over to Uber, okay? And they bought them a Prius, and start driving. And all of a sudden, they're making $2,000 a week, and Uber wasn't charging fees. Uber would let you keep all the money. They were charging like 5%. So you would make $2,000, and Uber takes out, 5%. That's nuts, man. That's nuts. It's the best thing ever. But what Uber did was they increased that 5% to 20% over time, and they also lowered the rate for the customer. So for you being the driver, you got a double-edged sword. So now you got guys who have just bought brand new cars to drive for Uber. Uber has raised the price on the driver, and then also Uber has lowered the price for the customer too. So it's a double-edged sword that the driver is feeling. So now a lot of drivers have switched back to taxi. And this is the main reason why I'm making this video. Because ask yourself this question: do they make more? I think they do. I think they do, and I know they do, because you know how many $5 rides like I've gotten over the past, I don't know, month or so, I've gotten quite a bit. But the thing that really sucks about a $5 ride, what a lot of Uber drivers don't know, this is what really sucks about a $5 ride. The customer may not want to go far, but you invested time to go pick them up. And in certain places, it's very inconvenient for you to pick them up. For example, in San Francisco on Market Street, if you get a ping for someone at Nordstrom's and you're going the opposite way, you have to go around the block. Okay? Now, if this is at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, or if this is on the weekend, or if there's a Giants game going on, it could literally take you a lot longer to pick that customer up. And let's say you pick them up and it's not surge pricing, or let's say it is surge pricing and it's 1.5. It takes you longer because you can't go left. But if you're in a taxi, it doesn't inconvenience you as much. Okay? Because you can go straight. Okay? Another thing about a taxi is you deal in cash. People tend to tip more when they have cash in their hand. Uber doesn't even want customers to tip. You hear that? They don't even want you to tip, dude. Yeah, that sucks. A company that says don't tip our drivers, that sucks. So you guys, you be the judge. Like, think about it. Like, I mean, taxis can make money all sorts of ways. Taxi drivers are not driving around nervous of getting deactivated, because a taxi driver can cuss someone out and throw them out of the car. You know, if you're disrespectful to me, if you want to puke in my car, I mean, the taxi driver can throw you out. And the taxi driver can just take the taxi and go to the car wash and hose it out. You know, it's not like he's gonna mess up, you know, leather seats, upholstery. I mean, look at the back of cabs. You know. I mean, so think about it, guys. I'm not saying you should go be a cab driver, but I mean, maybe Uber and Lyft, it's just not the same. Peace.